For years, France had been Spain's nightmare. Euro 1984, Euro 2000, World Cup 2006, Nations League 2021, always the same ending. And in 2024, it was supposed to happen again. Spain were missing stars. France were stacked with champions. Everyone knew how this story ended. Everyone except a 16-year-old kid. Too young to drive, too young to vote. But that night, he would do what no one had done in over a decade. He would flip the script. This is the story of how a 16-year-old brought the mighty France to its knees. You see, following their period of extended success in the late 2000s and early 2010s, the Spain national team suffered a massive dip. With the golden generation aging and most of them having retired, Spain started to suffer on every stage. Their World Cup defense in 2014 was horrible. They crashed out in the group stages. Then they would end up crashing out in the round of 16 at the 2016 Euros, as well as the 2018 and 2022 World Cup tournaments. It was obvious they needed a savior. At first, they thought the savior they needed was a coach, so they went and hired former Barca man Luis Enrique. But despite being a treble-winning gaffer, he was unable to restore Spain's glory days. Thankfully though, back in Barcelona, one of Spain's greatest ever players, Xavi, was cooking something for his former club and the national team. He gave Yamal his first team debut at the age of 15 in the 2022-23 season, and went on to give him even more responsibilities in the 2023-24 season at just 16 years of age. That full season, playing first-team football got the kid fully ready for the national team. So Spain's coach Luis de la Fuente called him up to the first team for Euro 2024 qualifiers, making him the youngest player in Spain's history. After the teenager showed real maturity during the qualifiers, the coach was confident about taking him to the Euros. But not only was the kid on the team, he was catapulted straight to the starting 11. Best decision the coach ever made. Lamine Yamal made his Euros debut in the group stage against Croatia, becoming the youngest player to ever make an appearance and provide an assist in Euros history. He announced himself to the world in incredible fashion, but we had seen nothing yet. He was just getting started. In the round of 16 game against Georgia, he became the youngest ever player to feature in a knockout game in Euros history. And then, when he went up against host Germany, he set up a goal to set up a much-anticipated quarter-final game between Spain and France. With his assist, Lamine Yamal entered Spanish football history, entering an exclusive list of Spanish legends to record 3 assists in a single Euros tournament. Only Cesc Fabregas, David Silva, and Dani Olmo had done it before him. Remember, he was just 16. It was already super crazy what the kid had done so far, but what the world didn't know was that he was cooking something even crazier for the next game. All we had to do was wait. Having put up amazing performances and broken all sorts of records in that tournament, Lamine Yamal became one of the players to watch. He was now the name on everyone's lips. Everyone was talking about him, including the French players, especially the French players. Adrien Rabiot infamously said a semi-final in a big tournament could be difficult for the teenager and he would need to do more than he had been doing to get past France.
Que pour pouvoir jouer une finale d'Euro, il faudra en faire bien plus que ce qu'il a fait jusqu'à présent. Je pense que ce sera à nous de lui mettre la pression surtout, de lui montrer que de ne pas le laisser dans le confort.
The French midfielder said that he and his teammates would put pressure on the Barcelona player and make sure he is uncomfortable. Lamine Yamal saw that and immediately went on social media to post a cryptic response. He put up a post on his Instagram which said, "Move in silence, only speak when it's time to say checkmate." For a child, that was an incredibly bold thing to say, especially considering the history that existed between these two nations on the biggest stages. You see, ahead of that game, France had often got the better of Spain when it mattered most. When they met in the final of the 1984 Euros, France won. When they met in the quarter-final of Euro 2000, France won. When they met in the round of 16 of the 2006 World Cup, France won. And when they met in the 2021 Nations League final, France won again. Spain were tired of being the Lille bro in this fixture, but the fact is that they didn't have a response to France's star-studded team. France had Kylian Mbappé, Ousmane Dembélé, Antoine Griezmann, N'Golo Kanté, William Saliba, Bradley Barcola, Eduardo Camavinga, Jules Koundé, Olivier Giroud. Literally everywhere you looked, France had a big name. Meanwhile, Spain were missing some of their best players like Pedri, Dani Carvajal and Robin Lenormand. France had just reached the final of the last 2 World Cup tournaments, while Spain bowed out in the round of 16 of both editions and hadn't reached the final in 14 years. So everything was pointing to Spain coming out of this game being the little bro once again. Ironically, the Spaniards were left with only one option. They were forced to look up to their little bro, the youngest player on their team and in the history of the competition. They beckoned on Lamine Yamal, and the young boss picked up the phone very early on in the game. In the 5th minute, he sent in a very inviting cross into the box from the right side of attack, but Fabian Ruiz was unable to keep his header down, sending the ball high over the bar. The game had just begun, but the entire nation of France had already started to feel shivers down their spine because of this adolescent. But hey, they had Kylian Mbappé on their team, the OG wonder kid, the man who won them the World Cup in 2018 and made Lionel Messi and Argentina shiver in 2022. Surely they had nothing to fear. And well, Mbappé actually did step up for his country to put them at ease. In the 8th minute, Dembélé sent a crossfield ball to Mbappé, who took his time and carefully picked out Randal Kolo Muani in a box that was packed with 8 Spanish players. The ball was put on a plate for Kolo Muani, and he did what he had to do, carefully guiding the ball into the back of the net. The keeper could do absolutely nothing about it. Many came to see Yamal and Spain, but it was looking like it was going to be an Mbappé and France show. And it looked like it was about to quickly go from bad to worse for Spain. In the 14th minute, Rabiot was storming towards the Spain box, and it looked so dangerous that Jesus Navas had to foul him to stop him from causing any damage. He got a yellow card for that, and France started to target the 38-year-old right-back as a weak point in the Spain defence. In the 19th minute, France came knocking again from Navas's side. Mbappé had the ball on the left flank and he cut in and unleashed a shot, but Laporte made a very timely block. The ball nearly fell kindly for Kolo Muani, but the French striker wasn't alert. That could easily have been 2-0 right there. Spain were holding on for dear life. It felt like, once again, they would end up as little bro to France. The fans had hoped that Lamine Yamal would save them, but 20 minutes in, it seemed like an Amber Alert may have gone off somewhere because the kid had gone missing. But when his team seemed like they were on the brink of drowning, the little prince showed up with the golden kiss to awaken the sleeping Spain. Lamine Yamal received the ball a few meters outside the France box, and immediately he was surrounded by a sea of white. 7 French players in front and around him. What was he going to do? He had Morata to his right and Olmo in front, and he could have passed to either of them. But he saw Adrien Rabiot in front of him, remembered what the French midfielder said about him before the game, and thought to himself, nah, this is personal, I'll do it myself. He made a right turn and then a quick left turn to shake Rabiot off. Then, boom! He unleashed the most astounding strike of the entire tournament. Mike Maignan was at full stretch, but he could do absolutely nothing about that shot. Even 2 goalkeepers could not have stopped that from finding the back of the net. That goal turned the stadium upside down. Commentators everywhere were screaming at the top of their lungs. Spanish fans were jumping, hugging, clapping, and spilling their drinks in excitement, while the French were holding their heads and staring in disbelief. Those who were watching from their TVs were tweeting, posting, and commenting. Social media was going absolutely crazy. That right there was a moment of history, and everyone who was watching anywhere in the world could tell instantly. With that goal, Lamine Yamal became the youngest player to ever score a goal in the history of the Euros. On its own, that was an incredible strike, and even more incredible moment considering the game state. But to think that it was a 16-year-old kid who pulled that off was just so mind-boggling. How the heck was it even possible? I mean, this was a guy that Spain nearly didn't play because German laws prohibit kids under the age of 18 from working past 11 p.m. A kid who was only 3 years old when Spain won the World Cup in 2010. A kid who was not yet old enough to open a bank account of his own. This was the kid who was doing this to the mighty France, the number 2 ranked team in the world. It was absolutely bonkers. But you know the scary part? He wasn't even done yet. 2 minutes later, he found himself in the same zone. But this time, he laid a pass in the pocket for Olmo, who then played the ball wide to Jesus Navas. Navas sent a cross into the France box, which was headed out by Saliba, but unfortunately for him, it only went as far as Dani Olmo. The midfielder took 2 brilliant touches in quick succession, and boom, he unleashed a shot so powerful that, in trying to clear it off the line, Koundé could only send it into the back of his own net. And just like that, Spain had turned the game on its head. And it all started from that moment of brilliance from Lamine Yamal which woke them up. But guess what? Yamal wasn't even done responding to Rabiot and other folks who doubted him. The next time he replied, he broke the internet. But, for now, he focused on finishing the job. In the 36th minute, Yamal came close to providing his 4th assist of the tournament. He cut in from the right and sent a pass to Fabian Ruiz, but the midfielder's shot was blocked by Tchouaméni. A few minutes later, Spain mounted a counter-attack. Nico Williams ran with the ball down the left and laid a pass for Lamine Yamal. He cut in and for a second looked like he was about to recreate his goal from earlier, but Theo Hernandez was at the right place to make a big block and sent the ball out for a corner. Nothing more happened in the first half, so French fans looked to the second period and hoped it would provide them a solution to Spain's teenage threat. But with France now desperately looking for an equalizer, it often left them wide open at the back, and Spain exploited that. 1 minute after the start of the second half, Nico Williams mounted another threatening counter. This time, France needed their goalkeeper to make the long run far away from his box to make a very important tackle. But that threat from Spain didn't discourage France for 1 second. They kept knocking. Dembele's cross in the 47th minute deflected off Cucurella, but Unai Simon handled it easily. Tchouaméni's header from a corner in the 53rd minute was also handled easily by Simon, while Mbappe's 56th minute shot was a little scarier, but saved nonetheless by the Spanish goalkeeper. There was so much tension in the game at this point, and everyone could feel it. There was a lot of nail-biting and hearts racing in the stadium, but in the 57th minute, a pitch invader ran into the field of play and that helped to douse the tension a little. But only a little, because the moment the invader was taken off, France went back to attacking. Dembele very nearly caught Simon off his line with his 60th minute shot from a tight angle, but the goalkeeper's strong arm was enough to stop the ball from going in. At this point, desperation began to creep in for France. Decisions became rushed and things started to go sideways. Tchouaméni picked up a yellow card for a hard tackle on Morata in the 60th minute, and then a couple minutes later, Upamecano was unable to keep his header down. In the 75th minute, there was some confusion in the Spain box and the ball eventually fell to Theo, but he couldn't keep his shot on target. The second half was pretty much all France, but Lamine was determined to have the last laugh, so he took the ball in the 81st minute, cut in from the right, and sent a very powerful shot toward the French goal, but he missed by a few centimeters. 5 minutes later, Mbappe did almost the same thing on the opposite end of the pitch, cutting in, but sending his shot over the bar. The 90 minutes were now up, and we were in additional time, but Les Bleus didn't give up. In the 91st minute, Theo Hernandez took the ball and started to make a dangerous run towards the Spanish box. Lamine looked up and saw that there weren't many Spanish players ahead, so he decided to take one for the team. He was not going to just watch all his hard work go to waste at the last minute, so he pulled Hernandez down. He got a yellow card, but he didn't mind at all. He was just 16. But he already knew so much about taking responsibility. That foul right there would end up being very important. France were unable to do anything from the free kick, and a few minutes later, the referee's whistle went for full time. Spain had just beaten France in a major tournament for the first time in 12 years. It was only their second victory over France in 7 major tournament meetings, and it was all thanks to a 16-year-old. That right there was checkmate. So, Lamine Yamal looked right at the camera and said, "Speak now," referencing Adrien Rabiot and other opponents who had a lot to say about him before the game. And to prove that it wasn't a fluke, Yamal went to the Nations League the following year and scored twice to help Spain beat France yet again. Anyway, after having helped Spain secure a ticket to the Euro 2024 final, Yamal went on to assist the opener against England, helping Spain win the Euros for the first time in 12 years. He was named Young Player of the Tournament, but many said that the kid should have also been named Player of the Tournament. That's how good he was. It was his first ever international tournament, but it was easily one of the best campaigns we had ever seen from any player. But before Lamine Yamal, there was Kylian Mbappé. And just 2 years prior, the France number 10 was making Lionel Messi and the whole of Argentina tremble with fear. If you want to hear the story of how the Frenchman made an entire country shiver, click here and I'll tell you all about it.